first-term Democratic congressman from Brooklyn, Hakeem Jeffries. He's also a member of the House Budget Committee. He is joining us from Washington, where he and other House members are spending the weekend, and we had hoped to have Republican Congressman Michael Grimm on the program as well, but he canceled on us at the last minute. So, Congressman Jeffries, you get the say on this show for the first segment. And let's
Good to be with you.
Good to have you here with us. Give us a sense right now as we tape this program, what's the likelihood that we're going to see a government shutdown? Do you think it's highly likely, not likely? What's your thought at this point?
Well, there remains a significant possibility, although many of us on the Democratic side of the House of Representatives are hopeful that the adults in the room on the other side of the aisle will stand up, recognize the need to move forward in a responsible fashion, which means passing a funding resolution to keep the government open so that the government can do its job and that we not hold hostage our ability to move forward to a partisan political fight.
When you say there's a significant likelihood, why do you say that?
Well, I think that the Tea Party-dominated Republican House of Representatives majority has continued to signal its willingness to shut down the government in the absence of securing a complete and total repeal of the Affordable Care Act. Now, that's totally unrealistic. This is the law of the land, as Speaker John Boehner indicated earlier this year. The Supreme Court has declared it constitutional. The president won re-election against an opponent, Mitt Romney, who indicated that his first act was going to be to repeal the Affordable Care Act. The American public rejected that, and that's why it's nonsensical to hold the government hostage to this ideologically extreme position that has already been litigated before the American people.
Is it your sense we're going to see some sort of compromise over the weekend? And what are you hearing in terms of possible compromise?
Well, the Senate has made it clear that they are going to send over a bill to the House of Representatives that strips out the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. And what we're going to have to confront is whether it makes sense to shut down the government simply to fight a battle that is over, that has been declared the law of the land, in order to satisfy some extreme individuals in the Republican majority, but to do something that will be very harmful to the American people.
When I mention compromise, I mean we're hearing things that could be added back in, like repealing the medical device tax, those kinds of things. So are you hearing about any of those things as well being thrown into the bill?
Well, there is a possibility. For instance, some have suggested on the other side of the aisle that they may want to delay implementation of the Affordable Care Act for a year. Another possibility is a repeal of the medical device tax. A third possibility is to insert some sort of punitive measure to deprive the members of Congress from the ability to receive employer-backed assistance for our own health care. So these are at least three possibilities that are being talked about as a poison pill to put into the legislation in order to make it difficult to arrive at a solution where the government is kept open. These would all be problematic, and they may be issues that we confront throughout the weekend going into September 30th, but much of it remains to be seen.
I think a lot of us are wondering, is there perhaps something going on behind closed doors in Washington within the House, between Speaker Boehner and some of the other folks up there that you're working to resolve this, or are things really as confused up there as they appear?
Well, Speaker John Boehner has been meeting behind closed doors with his members, but they haven't been able to arrive at a consensus as to what the right thing is to do. On the Democratic side of the House of Representatives, we're all unified that we need to move forward, pass a clean, continuing resolution to keep the government open, and then we can get back to our day-to-day battles with respect to public policy for this nation moving forward.
Right, but as you know, you're in the minority right now in the House. You were part of New York's dysfunctional assembly. Now it seems you're kind of part of this dysfunctional body, the House. I mean, what has that been like for you? As you're just been there now, a freshman congressman, the first 9 months, how has that been for you?
Well, some would suggest that the dysfunction followed me from Albany down south to Washington, D.C., but please, I hope my constituents don't hold me responsible. You know, I do think that the new class of representatives on both the Republican side and the Democratic side came to Congress with a charge from the communities that we represent to attempt to find common ground, get the business of the people done, and put aside the partisan bickering. Now, we did see examples of that, Diana, earlier on this year, where you had the fiscal cliff agreement that was reached, the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women's Act, and eventually the passage of the Superstorm Sandy relief package, all three measures done with the support of an overwhelming number of the House Democrats and some Republicans in the House. But those pieces of legislation were allowed to come to the floor by Speaker Boehner. One possible outcome this time around, this would be a functional outcome of progress, is for the same dynamic to play itself out, where we pass a continuing resolution with the support of Democrats and Republicans, and that's my hope.
Okay. And do you have any concerns that this debt ceiling issue is going to come into play over the weekend as well? Because that deadline is approaching October 17th. Do you think that that's going to get involved in the budget deal as well?
Well, I'm hopeful that it does not get involved. I agree with the president's position. There should be no negotiation as it relates to the debt ceiling. And there's been a lot of misconceptions put forth to the American people about what the debt ceiling represents. It's not a forward-looking vehicle designed to give the president the opportunity to spend more. It's a backward-looking vehicle designed to give the president the opportunity to pay bills that the Congress has already incurred, from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Bush tax cuts, and a variety of other measures passed into Congress over the last decade. And so the hope is that it will not come into play. We will have to confront it in advance of October 17th, right, but it should not be part of the government shutdown showdown.
Talk a bit about a shutdown. Help people to understand here in New York, in your district, in fact, what would a shutdown entail? What would it look like?
Well, you know, essentially, federal employees in many agencies across the country would be shut down. The parks would be closed, including Gateway National Park in the district that I represent. There will be no processing of Social Security, Medicare, other benefits issues deemed non-emergency, non-essential issues as part of this government shutdown.
Is your office getting calls from people concerned about this?
We absolutely have been getting calls from people concerned about the impact of a government shutdown. We will, of course, remain open and do all that we can to assist people in getting through any government shutdown that we hope can be averted, but we are taking steps to be prepared to assist our constituents.
Obamacare, that also gets underway. The exchanges begin on Tuesday. That will not be affected should there be a government shutdown, but I'm wondering, is your office also getting calls about that? Because I think a lot of people are a little bit confused at this point and not sure exactly what to do.
Well, we are encouraging people to be prepared to enroll on October 1st. Uninsured people from all across the country will have an opportunity for the first time to participate in a free market program designed to allow them to secure for themselves and their families health insurance. That enrollment period will go on for the next several months, and we expect that as we move from October into November and December, you'll see an increased participation rate, but we are encouraging everyone to be prepared to sign up to get health insurance as part of the effort to make sure that the Affordable Care Act is successful.
Okay. We will see what happens over the weekend and in the days ahead. So thank you, Freshman Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, for being with us on the program this morning. Good to have you.